Do you ever feel like no matter how much you try to manage your time, you still feel behind? I have had 5 conversations with women just this week on this topic. And so that gave me the idea that maybe we need to talk about time management. So here's what's happening. You're planning, you're setting goals, you're blocking your calendar, you're doing all the things. All you've read all the time management books, you've you've got a calendar, you're putting things in there, and it's still not happening. Yet somehow there's never enough time. Well, here's the truth. Time management, as we've been taught to think about it, is a lie. It was never designed, and especially, it's a strong misconception, especially for women, especially moms, especially business owners, entrepreneurs, anyone who is trying to juggle life. So, today I'll show you why the traditional time management fails many people, especially women, and what actually works instead. So, we are talking about why time management fails us as women and what actually works. I do not want to sound sexist, and I do not want to create like a victimhood mindset. But here's the deal, where did time management actually come from? And why? And this is why it doesn't work, especially for women. It's time management as a concept is not acknowledging life as a reality. So we all got obsessed with time management as the industrial revolution started happening. So, pre industrial revolution, we were the agricultural society, basically. As in, when the sun was up, you did your work. When the sun went down, you didn't do your work. You did as much as you could do in a day. And when you ran out of energy and you ran out of daylight, you stopped. We did not rely upon clocks to tell us what we could or could not get done. We relied upon ourselves to decide what could and could not be done. And then, as we are doing, and here's actually the beautiful thing, I grew up as a farmer's daughter. And so I got a taste of that agricultural life. And I remember my dad saying one time, there's something really great about being stuck on a tractor brush hogging for hours at a time. It gives you time to think that most people don't get. And I had noticed that. And even now in my modern lifestyle, I will get into my very nice, modern, comfortable vehicle with its heated seats and its air conditioning. But when I need to think, I will go on a long drive and just let myself think. So, why do I mention that? Because that is one of the ways that we get more things done. We have time to think about what matters most and more efficient ways to do it. This is how advances come. But we live in this now modern day and age where we think, we don't have enough time to think flat out. And we're not doing deep thinking, and we're not doing focused thinking, and we're just kind of doing scattered thinking and overthinking. And we are not solving problems so much as managing them. So, time management arose when the factory system started rising. And there was this idea that everybody starts at this time, you clock out for lunch at this time, you come back at this time, you end the day at this time. Are we doing well with our time? I don't know. How many widgets were we able to produce? Oh, we produced 100 widgets. Okay, tomorrow, can we produce 110 if we managed time better? So then you have managers who would help manage better. Like, let's not take breaks. You got to break here, not here, all these things. So the idea of time management comes from time clocks, shifts, factory workers. It was built for industrial efficiency, but it doesn't recognize real life. In real life, we, especially as women, don't work in straight lines. We are managing, shifting priorities, unexpected needs, and relationships. So, for example, you plan and you've thought, I'm going to block this time out and I'm going to get this project done. And then the baby gets sick. What do we say? Oh, I'm sorry, baby. That was not in this time block. You will have to be sick on this time when I've scheduled for you to be sick. No, that's the point. So, when you think about time management is something that really, really works when there is a buffer or a filter that you can always rely upon to use. So, for example, there's a CEO and he or she has a secretary that acts as a buffer, as in, no, you cannot speak to the man right now. He's doing this, but I will schedule you in. Or in life, like in our home, when our children were young, we did this. My husband's like, I will go to work and I will concentrate on making as much money as I can in the hours that I'm away from home. And I'm like, and I will stay at home and I will take care of all the unexpected things. Yeah, and I will try not to even need to call you and interrupt you while you're doing work. Um, See how one of us was flexible, was a buffer. Or if both people are working and they can hire a nanny who can be the flexible to handle the unexpected. Time management is something that can work if you plan for enough buffer, enough flexibility to protect the time management. This is why time blocking is helpful in some situations, but also literally doesn't work in cases of emergency. Shifting priorities. Somebody is sick. Somebody's got to go pick the kid up from school. So this is the frustration I think also adds because there is an unspoken expectation that women are generally going to be the more flexible ones. I think the frustration comes because it's an unspoken expectation. Whereas, let's just acknowledge that generally speaking, I'm not big on labels and strict little roles here, but generally speaking, women are more our brains are like a little bit more multitasking. We also tend to be the more nurturing one in the relationship. We are the one that enjoys being nurturing or supporting. Like if somebody's sick, we generally want to be the one taking. Generally speaking, broadly speaking, women are actually stronger in this area of being flexible, which means that we need to stop beating up on ourselves for not uh, for not making rigid time management systems work for us. They weren't designed for us. Okay, so that's the big point. So time management isn't the problem. It's actually prioritization. So here's the lie. If you manage your time better, you'll get everything done. Here's the truth. So, this lie. If you manage your time better, you'll get everything done. That's not true because it depends on how many things you're trying to get done. A lot of times we have unrealistic expectations about what we could get done, about what's going to happen in a day because we don't know what's going to happen in a day because we are not 100% accurate in our assumptions about the future. Um, and because we are not planning for interruptions or planning to make sure that interruptions don't happen. There's so many reasons. Did you know that one interruption, let's say that you time blocked an hour to get a project done. Did you know that One interruption, one unexpected phone call, the doorbell ringing, something happening can derail you for up to 23 minutes. Literally speaking, if all things work together perfectly, which is what time management is trying to sometimes do, is put out this expectation of perfection, then we could get way more done. But again, we're not actually dealing with reality then. We're dealing with an idealistic thought of how the day's going to go. So here's the truth: it doesn't matter if you do everything, if you didn't do the right things. This is why prioritization is way more powerful of a realization than time management. For example, I always love to go to the Bible for my examples because the Bible just contains truth. And if we can find an example of maybe the way that Jesus did it, then we found the perfect role model. But the story of Mary and Martha, Martha was busy doing all the things. And then she was like, which is not a bad thing, by the way. Martha was exercising Martha's gifts. The mistake that Martha made was in thinking that Mary should do things the way that Martha would do. And Jesus pointed out that what Mary was doing, sitting and learning, was not less valuable. It might even be more valuable. And that is not how our brains work. Our brains are geared towards thinking, checking the box means that that was valuable. I got things done, you know. And it's like, well, great. I checked 10 things off, but I had made no actual progress. I didn't learn anything. I didn't actually move closer to the goal. So, if the lie that if you manage your time better, you'll get everything done. No. But if you will prioritize, then you'll know which thing to give your attention to. And if you only get, here's the truth. This is the huge aha moment for me. By the way, when you hear an aha moment for you, share it in the chat. Not only does it help you anchor in what it is, I always say don't try to remember everything I say, just try to listen for your one aha moment. But if you'll put it in the chat, not only will it help anchor it in for you, but it also will help somebody else. So that's why I like doing these lives, is so that we can have that sense of working together on this topic. And then I also know what resonates with you, and so or if I also know if I'm not being clear enough. But the big aha moment: if I do everything but don't do the most important thing, then all of that is wasted. But if I know what's most important, and if the only thing that I get done today is the most important, then that is all that matters. That's all that matters. As a mom, if you're taking care of a sick kid, if that's the most important thing, that's the most important thing. That's all that matters. Make the most of it and let go of the expectations and the guilt that I should have been able to get other things done. No, be present in that moment. I remember, personal story. I remember when I was planning on going to church one time and my son woke up sick, truly sick, not just I don't want to go to church sick. There's a difference between the two types of sickness. And I was like, oh, and I had this thought of, like really stomach flu sick. And I had this thought, I mean, he's probably old enough to take care of himself, but I would feel better if I stayed home. But I also feel bad because I'm not getting, not doing these things that do at church. I'll have to call in. And then I realized, wait, okay, I'm not going to sit in guilt and regret and frustration and be torn in two places. We're going to stop right now. And we're going to make a decision. What am I going to do? Am I going to stay home and take care of him? Or am I going to trust that he's able to take care of himself and go on? And I decided I want to stay home and take care of him. Then I decided, and this was a game changer for me. Wow, I want to notice this time, make the most of this time. This may be the very last time that my that I get to mother my sick kid. Like, this is a moment that is passing that may never come again. Make the most of it. I mean, I hate that he's sick, but what can we do to make it the best sick day possible? What can I fix him? What can we watch together? Does he want me to just leave him alone? How can I show up and really appreciate the moment instead of being frustrated that's not going the way I thought it was going to go? Game changer for me. Create a memory out of it that tears me up to this day, remembering it. So time management is not the solution that's going to solve all the problems. Prioritization is a power tool that can do what time management can't. It tells us what's most important to do, and then we can use tools like time blocking, flexible things like that to make that happen. All right, number 2. Life works in seasons, not schedules. We think, well, if I schedule it, it's going to happen. And time management assumes that every day is the same, but life isn't. Life is ever changing. Some seasons require a little bit of hustle, a little bit of creativity and being busy, and we have the energy to do so. But some seasons we need to rest. Time management kind of assumes, that we're robots going through and that our energy levels are the same, our time is the same, the needs are the same. And it's just not true. But if we start thinking about life as seasonal, like this is a busy season, like specifically because we are trying to stay involved in soccer, and also I'm taking this business class. So I'm just recognizing that this season I am busier than I prefer to be, but I'm signing up for it intentionally, and there's an end to it. And next season, I'm not going to try to attempt as much. When we start looking at it that way, we'll realize, okay, I'm biting off a lot right now. My daughter's doing this right now. She is going to school, training for judo, teaching judo, working to pay for school. And she's just like, life is super busy. Like I have to be super intentional, to get it all done. She says, but I would rather do that than stretch it out and take longer on my schooling. She's making an intentional choice. If we will think about life as seasons, then we can make an intentional choice of how busy we think we're willing to be in this season to get to this goal faster. But we need to recognize if we're asking a lot of ourselves, because if we are, then the next season, we need to schedule a season of rest. Because, and here's a big thing, if we don't schedule a season of rest will be scheduled for us, whether we're wanting to or not. So it's so much. This is why I say we need to, when we're talking about living life on our terms, we need to own our time and then manage our energy. Because if we are drawing too much energy from our energy bank, eventually it's going to catch up and it's going to be charged back to us with interest. We are going to burn out our adrenal glands. We are going to exhaust ourselves. We're going to fall ill. When I was in college, I was way busier than I would want to be on a normal basis. And I noticed this is not a sustainable pace, because like the day after I finished finals, it's like I would get sick and I'd lose my voice. It was like, my body was saying, okay, 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 I don't have time to get sick now, but now for the rest of Christmas vacation, you're going to be sick. You're going to have to catch up on all that sleep that you missed. We're not robots. We're not machines. The best way is to use the energy that we've been given today to recover that night and start fresh the next day. Sometimes we're drawing a little bit more from tomorrow's energy today, or when we're not recovering enough with our sleep, and that's catching up with us. So pay attention to that. Time management will not solve that. That is a prioritization of, listen, am I going to say yes to this, even though it might require more of me than I can keep up with? Or can this wait for a different season of life? There's a great verse in Ecclesiastes 3:1, and you're probably very, very familiar with it. To everything there is a season. Sometimes we are too busy for our own good, as in our own health, or the health of our relationships, or the health of our overall goals, because we are too greedy in this season with trying to do too many things. So, to everything, there is a season. If we can, this is also why one of the reasons why I teach how to create a home that takes care of itself, because if we can learn how to create a home that is managed in minutes, we free up our time to be able to give it to a new thing that we're excited about. So that is and by the way, in that program, it's a private membership I do, Create a Home That Takes Care of Itself. And I think there's a link in the description. What I love about that is we have to learn all these principles of time ownership and energy management in order to create that home that takes care of itself. But when we learn the principles that really work and take care of us, especially as women, we create more time to then give to things that mean so much more, so much to us, so we are able to do more, but sometimes we just need to do them season by season, step by step. So like for me, I usually only take on one new thing at a time until I can learn it, figure out how to do it, because learning and figuring out how to do something takes more time. But once I do that, then I can usually figure out a way to automate it or maintain it in minutes, and then I can take on a new thing. Okay? All right. Why else is time management a lie? Number 3. It gives us the illusion of control. Time management makes us believe that we can control everything. If I just had the perfect day and the perfect schedule without any interruptions from those annoying people that God has put in my life, then the day will go like I need to. Everything will go as I have planned. But it's it denies the reality of life, and it's setting us up for failure. The better thing to do is to trust God's timing. Sorry, you guys. My nose is itching. Things interrupt our plans. James 4:13 talks about this. Instead of saying, today I'm going to go to the city and I'm going to go and do and transact this business, we ought to remind ourselves of this reality. If the Lord wills, I will do this and that and the other. I am not saying that planning is a bad thing. Planning is a great thing. I love planning. I teach planning. I help people plan. But we also want to recognize that our plans are always idealistic in some way, and we don't know what the future holds. And so it's not, sometimes things don't get done because other things came into our lives. And sometimes those other things that came into our lives were sent by God. It's not just the result of poor planning. It is, I thought I was going to do this, but reality showed me otherwise. Or I thought I was going to do this, but God gave me the opportunity to minister. And so I let go of my plans and adopted those instead. But that's not what we do. What we usually do is we think, well, I should still be able to do both. And it's like, stop trying to be in two places at the same time. Stop thinking that your sleep is optional. Stop thinking, what if it's okay? Like, what if when something comes into your life and you say, I believe that that is a better priority, a higher priority, a chance to minister. What if I then let go of the guilt of not getting these things done that were planned during that same time? What if I just let it go and trust that it's okay and it doesn't have to be done, maybe? So, time management has us believing, sorry, you guys, my nose is itching so much today. Sorry about that. Time management has us believing that if we just put it on a calendar, we can plan it, and it doesn't allow us. When we're focused on time management, solving our problems, then we are creating frustration that doesn't need to be there. So the goal is not to control our time. I talk about time ownership, as in, we don't know how many days we've been given, but we do know that we have 24 hours in a day that have been given to us. We get to decide what to do with them. So time, man, it's not about controlling our time, because we can't, but we can steward the time that we've given, as in we can choose when two conflicting things are coming at us at the same time. We can choose, okay, which one am I going to choose to go with, and which one am I going to choose to let go of, or let go of the way that I was going to do it. And with what attitude am I going to do that? Am I going to be frustrated that it didn't work out, that they're conflicting, or am I going to feel like a victim to it, or am I going to say, no, it's my choice. I'm choosing to go in this direction even though I had this planned. All right? So, time management teaches us the illusion of control when we're not in control of the world. I can have on my time management plan, this is where I learned this one. I can have, I'm going to drive to my mom's and I'll be there in 4 hours. And then there can be a traffic jam or traffic accident and I used to get really, really frustrated because I had it planned and they're expecting me and all that. And it's like, okay, I've got an opportunity. I can just keep on stewing here, or I can just realize I'll get there when I get there. I am not in control of the situation, but I am in control of the way that I use this time as I'm sitting in traffic. I can be trying to like jitter back and forth and, gain 10 steps, or I can, take this random side road that may or may not get me to my destination. Um, or I can just stew about it. Or, oh, I could just call my mom and start talking to her right now, or I could listen to a podcast, or I could pray for the accident, or I could just sit and relax for a second and appreciate and use this time. Just enjoy this time or relax in this time. I do not have to be frustrated in this time. All right. Also, time management leads. The promise of time management is that it'll give us freedom. We're going to be able to control our time and we're going to be able to free up our time. But sometimes it creates anxiety, because if we believe that time management equals success, then we believe that failure equals not getting everything done. But that is not how life works. God doesn't measure our success in checked off to-do list, and we shouldn't either. One of my absolute favorite verses is Matthew 11:28-30. In fact, I did a video at the beginning of the year talking about my word of the year, and it was this phrase, easy and light. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. When we are trying to use time, a lot of a while back, I'm sorry, I'm a little scattered right now. A couple years back, I wrote a post. If I gave you an extra 10 hours, do you know what you would do with it? And and the idea being that an extra 10 hours to be a gift for you to be able to enjoy and to utilize and to, be able to enjoy life more. Maybe it's by giving it to a hobby. Maybe it's by doing something that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't been able to do. But so many of us would, if we think that life is all about what we accomplish and that our value as humans is based upon how much we get done, then giving an extra 10 hours just means that's a 10-hour burden instead of a 10-hour gift. We need to recognize that the meaning of our life will not be found in the number of things we get done or in how productive we are in a day. I We think as humans about productivity, and productivity is very, very valuable. But we are called to be fruitful. And there's a slight distinction between productivity and fruitfulness. Fruitfulness is just a healthy expression of us being who we're meant to be, and we're bearing fruit that adds value into the world, that benefits others. I mean, think about a little apple tree. One little seed planted in the ground becomes, in its season, a tree that bears apples. And there's a lot of apples sometimes, and there's fewer apples, and in some seasons there's no apples. But the fruit tree is just being the tree and it's bearing fruit. And sometimes we can do activities to help the tree bear more fruit, nourish it, water it, give it sunlight, all those things. But productivity kind of is like all we care about is how many apples there are. Can we make it make more apples? Can we make it make more apples right now? And not acknowledging seasons and growth and maturity. And so fruitfulness is so much deeper than mere productivity. Productivity is kind of like what the world judges and what the world sees and what the world can measure. And fruitfulness is alignment with and health. And the healthy we are and the more in alignment we are, the more fruitful we naturally are. It's not about striving, it's about abiding. This is why Jesus can say, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. As in, it's not hard for a healthy apple tree to bear apples, but it's really hard to make a tree bear apples if it's not an apple tree. It's really hard to make an apple tree bear apples in the middle of winter. So, productivity is kind of like a short sighted metric next to fruitfulness. I have seen this happen over and over again. Pastors who burn out before their time because they are focused on productivity rather than long, healthy fruitfulness. They're burning the candle at both ends instead of doing it the way that God intended of every day there is a measure of work that we can contribute to the world, and then there is a relaxation period of enjoying the you know it, that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the fruit of his labor. That is the gift of God. That's a daily gift that we could take advantage of. And then there's a time of rest. God modeled all of us all of this for us in Genesis at the very beginning of time. And we forget it. And we use artificial light to try to be more productive while we're hurting our long term fruitfulness. So, time management can create anxiety when we're looking for freedom. So, if your time management system is stressing you out, it's not the right system for you. So, what actually works? What is a more productive approach to productivity, fruitfulness, the topic of time? Instead of a rigid uh, time management system, let's shift to asking some few simple questions. What's important? Number one, what's important right now? Number two, what's the next step? So, that first question, what's important? We're talking about big picture thinking. What is important? We're talking about seasonal thinking. What is important? What's important right now? Now we're talking about prioritizing in this season. And then what's the next step? That speaks to what can I do today to move the priority forward? What can I do today in such a way that will benefit me tomorrow and in the future? It's not about scarcity, it's about abundance. When we start working under the principles of time abundance that God has given us, as in He has given us. Here's my really, really strong belief. It would just be a pretty cruel joke for God to give us a whole bunch of things to do and then not give us enough time to do it. What if we just believe that's not who God is? As in, whatever God has given us to do, He's also given us enough time to do it, and He's also given us enough energy to do. What if we lived in that every single day? God's given me enough time to do it, and God's given me enough energy to do it. And if I don't have enough time to do the things that I'm thinking that are mine, and if I don't have enough energy to do it, I'm either doing it the hard way, I'm either doing it a perfectionist way, I'm either doing it some other person's way, not the way that I was designed, or novel question, novel thought. Maybe it's not even mine to do. What if? And especially as women, especially if God has given you priorities in your life that are what I call not soft priorities, but not schedulable priorities. Raising a baby, not highly schedulable. Taking care of a sick relative or taking care of a parent or making yourself available. My my husband and I have leaned really, really strongly into this concept. That man, he can get so much done. His to-do lists are phenomenally long. And he has the energy to work 12, sometimes up to 16 hours a day. It's crazy. And for the most part, he enjoys it. Of course, sometimes things take longer than he wanted. And he'll write down 20 things that he's going to do today. I'm like, no one person is ever going to get those 20 things done. But he doesn't get frustrated about it. He'll do maybe 18 and he'll just move the next two to the next list. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe you got 18 done. He doesn't get frustrated about it. He just moves it to the next list. But he enjoys working off a list. Me, I do not and would not plan to get that much done ever. Okay. But one of the things is I have never planned to as long of a list as him because I am the one who picks up the phone and takes the calls for the unexpected. Like when we were first married and we had young children, he would go to work and I would be the flex point of, oh, somebody needs to meet the repair guy or somebody needs to take care of the child who's sick or, somebody needs to run this errand or go to the bank during bank hours. That worked out really, really well for us. We were leaning into our strengths. So, one of the things that we can all do is just recognize what is my personality and what works best for me instead of just adopting a system that may not work best for you. But even then, both of us work from the same idea of we cannot exhaust ourselves today and then think that we can work well tomorrow. Any energy that if I'm giving up sleep today, that means I'm going to have less energy tomorrow. So we want to own our time, then steward it and manage our energy so that we are not borrowing too heavily than we can pay back in the future. Okay. All right. So here's a daily habit. Identify the main thing for the day and then do it before the distractions hit. Stay flexible, let go of perfection. That is the simplest way I know how to do it. When I'm talking about this with clients, sometimes I'll tell them, write down everything you think you need to do. Now, star what is the 1 to 3 things that are the highest priorities and focus on those things first. But believe this, if I did the main thing is the main thing, so if I did the main thing, that's the main thing. As in, if I did what was most important, then that's all that matters. That was enough. Don't, what am I trying to say? Time greediness will just create frustration, which actually ironically slows us down. So stop beating yourself up if your time management system is not working for you. Maybe your time management system was not created for you. Maybe it was created for a factory worker for 8 hours a day who had a wife that was staying at home doing all the other things, doubling the family's time basically. And let's, instead of using time management, let's lean into the skills using knowing our purpose, figuring out our priorities for this season, priorities for this season, and then we can look at what are ways that we can do it simpler, easier. Maybe we can delegate it, maybe we can automate it. If that happens, then we've just freed up another clump of time to take on maybe another project. Again, this is why I talk about create a home that takes care of itself. This is, in my mind, it's a project. And once I made my home to where it could just be maintained in minutes a day, then I freed up all my time. Then I took that mindset to my kids' homeschooling when they were younger. And it's like, well, what if I can teach my kids to teach themselves? And I did that. And then I freed up all my time again. And then I'm like, well, what else can I do? And I took it to meal planning. And now I'm taking it to creating a business that practically runs itself and that takes care of itself. These principles get to be used over and over and over again. And it really gets to feel, instead of being a frustration, like there's just not enough time to do all the things, it gets to be a fun game of, oh, let's see what else I can do in a way that feels easy and that feels light. All right. Are there any questions on this topic of time management and the lies that time management kind of deceives us in? Let's do a recap really, really quickly. It's not made for women. It's made for factory workers. Number 2, time isn't the problem. Prioritization is. Number 3, time works in schedule or seasons, not schedules. Number 4, um, time is not ours to control. It's ours to steward well. And 5, time management creates anxiety instead of freedom. So instead of time management, let's replace it with time ownership, stewardship by knowing our purpose, our priorities, our values, and then choosing where to give our time. Okay. All right. Any questions, or if any questions come up, then, oh, hey. Yeah. Usually I start these at 11 o'clock, but, and I've been trying to do them consistently at 11 o'clock. But with that being said, next week I'm either going to have to pre record it to do it at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, or I'm going to have to do it in an alternate time. I'm still deciding on that. But anyway, any questions? If not, we're going to wrap it up and we are going to um, let go of the frustration and letting go of the belief. I've got to say it one more time. God does not give us work to do that he does not also give us enough time to do. There's always enough time to do what matters most. When we believe that, then we can actually solve what the real problem is. Is there an easier way to do this? Is there a better way to do this? Or is this not even mine to do? Or maybe it's not mine for this season. So anyway, just a thought to be thinking. What if there's always enough time to do what matters most? And sometimes we're just confused about what matters most because we're taking on somebody else's priorities, or because our hearts are tender and we want to do so many things, or because we just enjoy doing so many things. So let's not fall for the lie that, the only reason I don't have enough time is because I'm not very good at management in time. That may not be true. It might be one of these other things. Okay. All right. I think that's all that I've got for you today. Can't wait to see your thoughts. Can't wait to see your questions. If you're watching the replay, feel free to do it. In the description, I did drop some helpful links. If this is a topic that's really, really been frustrating you and you need some personal clarity about this, then I put a link to a free clarity call. So um, you can get on my schedule if there's wherever there's a spot open. Also, if you would like to be in a private community of women where we practice these principles over and over again, so we get clarity, you get the coaching you need to overcome any obstacles in your life that might be, stealing your time, draining your energy, and help you get things done faster, easier, better, then my Create a Home membership is probably what you're looking for. So check that out. The nice thing about that is that even though it's $55 a month, I have set up a referral system to where if you invite just 3 friends to join you, then your membership is completely paid for. So, and if you invite more than that, you start making money off of it. But it is only for women. Okay. And it's for women who are serious about getting things done in their life without stress and without overwhelm. So we solve for those problems from the feminine perspective. And sorry, you guys, I'm going to use a lot of biblical stuff when I do it because I think the Bible teaches wise, wise principles that once we understand them, they solve life's problems in such an easy way. And what else did I put in the description? Oh, also, I've got a newsletter that I send out. If you'd like to get on that, that one's free. All right. That's all I've got. This has been fun. I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.